The Florida Gators are extremely close to landing some elite talent, and we're going to talk about who UF is moving the needle with and what the future could hold for the Gators. The spring game is less than 2 weeks away, and on that Thursday night, there will be a plethora of elite talent in the swamp. But what UF has been doing is bringing elite talent to campus over the entire month of April and setting the stage for a massive event on April 13th. Could the Gators land a commitment before the spring game or shortly after? Let's talk about the recruits that UF seems to be making the biggest impact on and moving in the right direction for after a few recruiting weekends in April. While we're chatting about these recruits, do me a favor and comment below with who you think the next kid in the 2024 class to commit will be. We'll do something special for the first person to comment and get it right. All right, let's get to it. First up, let's chat about Mario Craver. He is a 4-star wide receiver out of Alabama. The Tide do want him. He is a top 150 kid according to 24/7, and UF is super, super excited about his playmaking ability and what he could potentially bring to the table. And listen, I mentioned this already. We've talked about this in previous shows. Pulling a kid out of Alabama with both Auburn and Alabama in the state is not easy, right? Everybody wants to play for the Tide. That's been like that for the last decade. But with DJ Lagway coming to play for the Gators, this is something that could mean a lot to Mario Craver. They do know each other. They do have a relationship. I've talked about it ad nauseum. DJ Lagway is the best recruiter for the Florida Gators right now, and he is dialed in on Craver. A lot of people see this not as an Alabama UF battle, though, but as an Auburn UF battle. He's visiting this weekend, which is certainly interesting given that Auburn's spring game is this weekend. Billy Gonzalez has been pushing really hard here. It could be Gonzalez that kind of is the difference maker. He's known for putting guys in the NFL. You know Billy Gonzalez's resume, and it may be making a difference. Before we get to the rest of the list, we're going to do a live show tonight, this evening. We're going to start around 8:30 Eastern time, so make sure that you have your notifications on. We're planning on having a special guest, and I'm going to take a ton of your questions. So come on and hang out tonight. It's going to be fun. All right, next up, Xavier Filsaime. We've spoken about him a few times, but quick reminder, he is a top 5 safety. He is actually number 2 in the country according to On3 in the 2024 class. He is a top 50 player nationally. Filsaime plays high school football in Texas now, but he is originally from the state of Florida. And for a long time, Georgia was thought to be the favorite with Filsaime. But recently, Blake Alderman put in a crystal ball over on 24/7 for Florida. So that could be really huge. If Florida lands the number 2 safety in the country, it means that Corey Raymond is doing something right. It means that Florida's defense is going to start improving with a quickness. Florida was in his top 5, so they should get an official visit. I would look for that to be scheduled soon. But the fact that people are starting to think that he is leaning Florida may be that Corey Raymond effect that we have talked about on previous shows. So again, huge target for Florida. It would be really great if the Gators could pull Xavier Filsaime. Big win on the recruiting trail if that happens. Pierre-Louis was on campus this past weekend. We spoke about him in our recruiting preview last Friday. Didn't mention this in that video, but yes, he is the brother of former Florida player Richard Garage, so he is a Gator legacy. He is not, however, related to Pierre-Louis, which some of you also asked me about in the comments. Eddie is a 4-star interior offensive lineman. My favorite thing about him, he's from Tampa Catholic, my alma mater. He is 6'3", 335 pounds. Like I said, he visited UF just this last weekend, and based on all the reports that I'm hearing, UF is in a great spot for him. He did visit Miami. He's setting up a visit to Tennessee. Again, I really like how UF sits with this one, though, so I don't think that should be concerning. And I think he's a guy that will end up in UF's class. It's just kind of a matter of when it happens at this point, I think. And I think this would be a great addition to the offensive line. He also plays defensive line, and in high school currently, he is incredibly athletic. I shared a video this week of him running track. Big boy can move. So keep an eye on this one. I think it should pop soon. Let's talk next about Zay Mincy. We haven't chatted about him yet on the channel. He's 6'3", 180 pounds. He's a safety out of Daytona Beach, Florida. He's a 4-star athlete. On3 has him as the 8th best safety in the country. 24/7 has him as the fourth best. On3 has us as a 93.7% chance of landing him. He's already visited twice this year. After visiting last year he came for the Utah game. He is a multi-sport athlete. He runs track, he plays basketball as well. He is a really, really athletic kid, and Florida is trending really well for him right now. He could certainly be a kid that announces for UF sooner rather than later. If he attends the spring game, which I anticipate that he will, watch for some fireworks that may happen around or right after that event, and that would be kind of neat to see. Lastly, let's talk about Kevin Levy. UF only recently offered him, but he did put the Gators in the top 3 as soon as they did offer. He is 6'1", 170-pound athlete. He's probably going to play corner at the next level. He is a 3-star according to 24/7 and On3, but don't forget he still has his senior season to play, and rankings will change a lot. He's making his way back to Gainesville this weekend. I really like how UF is pushing hard here and making him a priority. On3's Corey Bender said that both Corey Raymond and Billy Napier are heavily involved in this one. I think UF keeps the pressure on here, and if they do, they can land Levy. And I think he could make his decision sooner rather than later. Like I said, as soon as Florida offered, they popped right into his top 3. So this is a guy that really does want to be a Gator. So I expect this to happen pretty soon. UF currently has the 4th best class in the country according to On3. 24/7 has them with the 10th best class, but they have the 2nd best average in the top 10 behind Georgia. They will obviously add to that. Billy Napier has shown us that he can recruit, right? He has shown us that he can get into battles with the top dogs. He did it last season. Florida was able to hold together a pretty impressive class, especially given their overall record on the field. And this year, he's putting together an even more impressive class. And I think what we need to see from Napier is him take a step from battling with the top dogs to possibly winning some of these battles against the top dogs. Again, he was able to do it with a losing record last year, so I don't think there's any reason to think he's not going to start taking some of these recruits from the Alabamas, from the Georgias, from Clemson's, winning head-to-head in the state against Florida State, Miami, things like that. Billy Napier can recruit. All year long last year, we heard about how the class is going to fall apart if UF doesn't win enough games. It didn't. Even with all the Rashada stuff that happened, that had nothing to do with wins and losses. If the stuff that went on with NIL doesn't happen, Rashada's in this class. It didn't have anything to do with the amount of ball games won on the field. Now, listen, I want to win games. And ultimately, whether or not Billy Napier has a long tenure at Florida will be determined by wins on the field. And I don't want to talk about expectations for next season just yet. I will in the coming months. We'll talk about what I expect from the program and what we should see happening. But it should be comforting to know to all Gator fans that Napier and his Army are bona fide recruiters. No matter what the record is, no matter what's happening around them, Napier and his staff can recruit. These guys are going in, they're going to states like Alabama, Texas, in South Florida territory, and they are pulling guys. They can and they will continue to recruit really well. I think Napier finishes this season with a very, very strong class, and we'll talk about expectations on the field later on. Guys, I really appreciate the support of this channel. You guys have been so wonderful. I've tried not to bombard you with asking for subscribers the last few videos, but if you enjoy the content, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. If you want to see more of this content, hit the join button. I want to be able to make more and more videos, and your support allows me to do just that. We will do our best to keep you updated to make sure you are locked in with the channel and have your notifications on so you don't miss any updates. Did you see our video on UF's latest commit, Austin Simmons? If not, click right here.